I have never seen scenes like this in a pro race, let alone the opening stage of a Grand Tour. Chaos in the Vuelta opening team time trial, thunder, lightning. But this Vuelta is very different to last year, particularly the start list, which we'll get to in a second. It's stacked, but it starts in Barcelona with this TTT, then goes to my home, actually past my house in Andorra, for a hard mountaintop finish, down to Valencia as normal, then the Costa Blanca Interior, transition to this week 2 TT, the individual one, some Zaragoza stages, then to the French Pyrenees, the Tourmalet, up to Pamplona, the Angliru in week 3, as well as a hard stage 18 before finishing Madrid. A much harder course than last year, in my opinion, where Remco even Pool won ahead of Enric Mas and Juan Ayuso. But Roglic, who won the 3 editions before, he was hyped up to be back after crashing out of last year's edition, bringing with him, though, Jumbo-Visma's other GC superstar, the Tour de France winner Jonas Vingegaard. And this team time trial in Barcelona, I was on the ground for 18 corners, pretty much flat, a city circuit, wide roads actually for the most part, not too technical in the dry, but it wasn't dry today. I went down to the beach where it started. I did some investigation, copped the merch, the LR merch, through the link pinned down below. And you look at this start ramp, I already knew there'd be trouble. And then just as Caja were rolling off, there was a lightning strike in the Barcelona area, but apparently no one thought that was too dangerous, so it was bright enough at the start when DSM and Caja rolled off, and the rain hadn't really built up on the roads either. There was no crashes from those two teams. DSM, they're not flicking too much water off the back wheel, but then as it progressed with Trek, Little Trek, the next team, it got worse and worse and worse. Like, you look at the spray off that Caja corner and the spray off the DSM riders, just remember that for later, but they set well, it looked like a pretty good time, but I mean, it wasn't too much ahead of Cofidis, 22 seconds by DSM. I mean, it's a fine time at that point, but they had the best of the conditions, and as Arkea rolled out in the Fluoro and EF Education Easy Post, it started to get darker, it got wetter, the thunder and lightning did abate a little bit, but the rain and water built up on this course, meaning that the favourite teams, Ineos, Jumbo, UAE, Quickstep that went later, they were probably getting a little bit nervous in the warm-up tents, especially seeing the other teams on course like Arkea pinballing. A lot of riders crashed, at least 3 or 4 riders crashed, or of different teams in that particular corner, probably double digits. Alpecin lost 2 riders within the first minute. They washed out in the big roundabout as you head up to the Sagrada Familia, and then they were going to still set a good time. Then another rider crashed, and Jayco, their whole team went down in a crash. And then Dunbar came too hot into the finish. He wiped out, I think, on maybe the second to last corner, and so he and Zana would lose a lot of time. Jayco typically good in the team time trial, and it's getting darker. You see the lights lighting up Ganna's face, and the helicopter shot is barely able to make out the teams. Ganna goes first into this corner, maybe G, and Deplouse wipes out. Lucky, the rider behind him managed to avoid the crash, but Deplouse abandoned the race. Not the start Ineos wanted either. And all these GC teams are just thinking this is a day from hell, and Ineos are 14 seconds back on DSM at T1 and finished 20 seconds back on them, which means that DSM time is starting to look pretty good. Their plucky French young team, FDJ, a brilliant performance from them, only 6 seconds back. But now the co-favourites for the race, Vingegaard and Roglic, settle for Jumbo, and it's getting pretty much pitch black as UAE is the next team to roll off the ramp with Almeida and Ayuso, before we see something really weird halfway through Jumbo's TT. 3 riders are stopping, riders are looking back, 2 riders scream up from behind. Vingegaard had to do a bike change, he had a mechanical or a puncture, no crashes for them, but with how dark it was getting, and you're trying to draft the wheel just behind you, you could see Jumbo were not going to threaten the scorers. They finished well back, 32 seconds behind DSM Firmenich, and they were acting like they won the TT. Roglic so happy he didn't crash, I think. UAE 2 seconds behind them. Movistar, though, Erviti drafted in at the last minute for Verona. Oliveira, a brilliant time trialist, just came top 10 in Worlds. And Soudal Quickstep with last year's winner Remco ready to roll off the ramp. And Movistar were flying. 7 seconds ahead of DSM at T1, but the rain was belting down and the visibility was straight up danger. I mean, Quickstep, Soudal Quickstep, they were racing pretty much in the dark. Same with Movistar, and that cost Movistar the stage win. They took big risks, but they got detached in the final corner, and an unbelievable performance from them. With Marcin Rubio to do that performance, they had DSM nervous, but they finished 55 hundredths back on DSM, and Soudal Quickstep go red in the final 50 meters. So, I mean, Remco and Mas take a lot of time on the other GC contenders, but Remco wasn't happy after the stage, saying, look at the visibility, DSM ecstatic, winning the opener, and Remco saying, what is this you're making us ride in? And look, compare this to Caja. I mean, it's just night and day. Literally, in Remco we trust. He's right on this occasion, but DSM win. They'll take it. Same time as Movistar virtually. EF, Soudal Quickstep and Groupama, really good performances. Ineos, they'll be unhappy with the De Plus crashing out, and Jumbo didn't even finish in the top 10. That's the big surprise, as well as UAE. But it's a long Vuelta. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you with the recap of stage 2 tomorrow. Ciao.